Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 is finally coming after a whole decade since the second game came out, and this looks to completely change things up. It's even further in the future, our heroes are gone, and there may not even be a time patrol. So let's dive into the new trailer for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 and analyze everything we can for this new direction in Dragon Ball. First and foremost, the game is touted as having the involvement of Dragon Ball's creator, Akira Toriyama. This is kind of a big deal, because while Toriyama may have drawn up video game characters many times before, his involvement in things like settings or story was very limited, or nothing at all. The last time he took part in a game to a bigger degree was Dragon Ball Online. The old MMO inspired many things, including Xenoverse already, and Dragon Ball Heroes. That's where Towa, Mira, Fu, Xenotrunks, the Time Patrol, and the Kaioshin of Time all originate from, although in a fairly different way from what we saw in Xenoverse. It seems like that game isn't done inspiring the Xenoverse series, since that game took place on age 1000, same as the new one. This is over 200 years after the end of the original manga, since Goku leaves with Oob on age 784. As series producer Akio Yoku explained, they asked Toriyama to imagine what the future world of Dragon Ball would look like, and that the game has already been in development for 7 years. So it seems like he had quite a bit of time to work on this before his passing. And it kinda seems like they're taking things more seriously than ever before. The trailer begins with an establishing shot of what looks to be the new hub world, West City, the place where Bulma lives in the show. It still looks very Dragon Ball, since that city was kinda futuristic anyways, but with a lot more verticality. There's many more skyscrapers, but the one of most interest is in the center, Capsule Corp Tower. It looks like the headquarters have been severely expanded since we last saw it. The city in Dragon Ball Online looks very similar to this one, though that one had a few sections that look differently depending on the population, like a Namekian section or a Majin Buu one. I wonder if this will be the case here too, kinda how Xenoverse 2's Kanton City was. To the left of the tower we can see West City Bank, and below it, signs for the tower itself, and even West City University. The university was also a place in Dragon Ball Online, and appears later in the trailer in the scene where the Videl-looking girl sees Brett fly by. I'll get to him in a second. Other signs include Penguin 3, which could be a reference to Penguin Village from Dr. Slump, Akira Toriyama's other giant hit, which has had crossovers with Dragon Ball. The Dino sign features the dinosaur Gohan hunted in the Saiyan arc, which has appeared plenty of times since then. Perhaps this is a restaurant that serves dino meat, Dino Burger. The most curious sign is this one, Ozaru. It's weird that something so unique to the Saiyans would be advertised in such a way, but in the future of Dragon Ball Online, it is said that a lot of humans have Saiyan blood at that point, even if they don't necessarily have tails. Perhaps Saiyans and their nature have now become common knowledge, but what could they possibly be selling with a sign of a monster who destroyed countless civilizations? I saw someone on Twitter wonder if perhaps these signs are actually something like sports teams or factions. I could totally see them being factions you choose to join while in the game. This specific shot used is the one of Ozaru Gohan during the Saiyan arc. Go West City Ozarus! Air traffic also seems a lot more common, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these new ships were also designed by Akira Toriyama. We then get our first look at Brett, someone who seems like he's going to be something of a friend or rival to our created character. He has a hologram set of Capsule Corp headphones, and a screen for his music. The first song he plays gave me a heart attack, because it finally confirmed what it was. The song was the character creator theme from Xenoverse 1, but he quickly switches it over to a new song by a demon idol pop star. Something very different for Dragon Ball, but it also tells us that in this future world, perhaps it's not just the Saiyans that have been accepted, but demons like the Glint as well. Assuming she's a Glint, then she would be the same race as Kronoa, the Kaioshin of Time. I wonder if she serves a similar guiding role. Notably, the song has two versions, one in English and one in Japanese. Depending on the trailer. Also, this isn't the only time we've gotten a demon pop star. There's actually one in the 3DS game Dragon Ball Fusions, named Pipila. She's not important or anything, it's just part of her description. Moving on to Brett himself. He seems to be a normal human boy, with 3 scars across his cheek. He wears red and green, which are the colors of the Great Saiyaman. but the style of clothing seems more similar to the Crane School, the martial arts school Tenshinhan and Chaozu belong to. In the lore of Dragon Ball Online, after an invasion by the Frieza Force remnants, there was a boom in martial arts. So Roshi asked Tien and Krillin to begin their own schools. So he could be one of those Neo Crane School students. Also in Online, you could pick between different classes, like a spiritualist or martial artist, and evolve from there into different ones. I wonder if they'll bring that in too, though his outfit also kinda looks like Yamcha's bandit clothes from the start of the series, and those scars on his cheek could also be alluding to the Wolf Bandit. By the way, I won't be covering the whole Online lore in this video, but it is extremely interesting. Like, Goku and Vegeta weren't in that invasion battle. They've already passed away together in one final battle in space by then, but I do think they'll implement a lot of that lore into this game. So if you'd like to see me cover it on its own video, let me know. Anyways, we see more signs as he runs. Capsule Corp Stadium, for example. Maybe there'll be a baseball minigame like in Kakarot. There's also Monster Sushi, with the image of the giant fish Goku catches at the start of the series. There's also an energy sign, though it's hard to read what it says above it, in one of the many papers scattered about at the end of the trailer. One of them mentions Electric City, and they're really making a huge deal about this place. I could see there being like a power source or something like that really revolutionized everything. Like in Dragon Ball Online, they invented the Ki Battle, which harnessed Ki as an energy source, mostly used for like weapons and stuff like that, but maybe it'll be included here. As Brett runs through, we see none other than Piccolo, or a farming even in this trailer. Now, Piccolo is one of the few characters from the original series that lives on to the events of Dragon Ball Online. This is what he looks like by then. A few other characters are still around, like Dende, Roshi, and Korin. Dende in particular asks Piccolo to investigate various factions attacking Earth. I'll talk more about the subject of character creation later on, but assuming that we still have Namekians, they could introduce more stuff from this era of Online, such as the Poco Priest, who would tame and use mutated Namekians, similar to King Piccolo, or the Dark Namekians, who are enemies in the game. There's some really interesting stuff that could bring new challenges beyond just fight a purple cell and cooler. Moving right along, we see a shot of this guy driving a car. This makes me think that we'll get proper vehicles in this game, rather than just a few small mounts like in Xenoverse 2, as well as more variety in body types. Like, Brett looks pretty standard, but this guy is huge, and this student in the next shot is chubby. More variety would definitely be a welcomed addition. The girl walking to the university is obviously an allusion to Videl, especially with how Brett and her interact. It's that early Buu Saga Great Saiyaman vibe, which makes sense given what we're about to see. This little run he does in place is fun. GT Goten does it, and I believe Gohan as well? In the background, we see a sign for Frypan. This is the home of Chi-Chi and Ox King, Mount Frypan, where Master Roshi fired the first Kamehameha seen in the series. It even has Ox King's horns. I wonder what this is. Could be another team. Next to it is another sign we can't quite read well, but it looks like it says Roar with an image of Shenron. This next shot is interesting. We see a boy with a crazy pompadour and no eyebrows. Now, I think this is a representation of a created character rather than a proper character in the story, but he looks crazy. And if you look closely, you can actually see that he has a tail. In the past, Xenoverse characters only had a tail if you equipped it as an accessory, or if it was part of the pants. So maybe you can actually just have a tail now. The choice of location here is no accident. This guy with the crazy hair was specifically placed in front of the Soramame sign because this is a Dr. Slump reference. Soramame is a haircut parlor from the manga, manned by Kurikinton Soramame, the father of Taro and Pisuke, two of Arale's friends in Dr. Slump. It looks like you'll be able to unlock and drastically change your hair at the barbershop. Really cool reference either way. We then see the pop star's ad for her new release. I wonder if she'll have any other songs in the game. Would be kinda weird for her just to have the one. Maybe we'll be able to change the music just like Brett did and unlock more songs. Suddenly, Brett gets a call on his capsule watch. Moving over to see Bulma looking at a screen with 4 characters. 2 of them are the player avatar, John and Jane 1000, as the internet has come to know them. There's also Gamma 1, which was a huge surprise for me. It's cool to see him again after Superhero. Remember, he ended up being security at Capsule Corp. It makes sense for him to still be alive since he's an android. What doesn't make sense is Bulma. Now, this has caused a huge stir online, and they even brought it up at the battle hour itself, asking if we just saw Bulma in the future, and them confirming yes. Now, many have theorized that this could actually be a descendant of Bulma that just has the same name, and they're just trying to confuse us. Others think that maybe the ring around her neck has something to do with this, like a program or device that projects her into the future, or a saved memory or something like that, like Dr. Light in Mega Man X. Some even think that maybe Dr. Heto's work extended her life, or that she finally gave in and wished for eternal youth. An interesting theory my girlfriend had was that maybe she's an android. Nearly every single one of Dr. Gero's androids, including Android 21, have those exact same earrings. I could honestly see it. The absolute wildest theory I saw was that maybe it has something to do with Whis, since the ring around her neck looks like an angel's halo in Dragon Ball, and that maybe Vegeta is the current god of destruction or something. I don't know, I don't think this is actually the case, but it's very fun to see the theories people come up with. Anyways, all of these new designs were done by Akira Toriyama. On the door of Bulma's place, we see GS. This is the same symbol on John's uniform, and it actually stands for Great Saiyan, or Great Saiyaman. The description for the game on PSN and Steam mention, take your place in the story and experience what awaits in West City. Guided into the ranks of the Great Saiyan Squad, you'll fight alongside allies as events there begin to take shape. So it looks like, rather than being part of the Time Patrol and traveling through time, the threats will be coming to us. This is something I'll explore more in a bit, but to me, it nearly looks like a soft reboot of the franchise. Bulma says that there's been an incident in New City, and that they have to take care of it. From here, Brett accesses his menu, where we see the settings and all. This is probably somewhat what it'll look to us too. He uses a button to change outfits, and we can see some of the customization options: tops, bottoms, hats, glasses, and accessories. There's also food, don't know what that's about. He changes into his superhero outfit, the Great Saiyaman 6. We then see the Videl-looking girl studying and seeing him fly away, surely missing class. We then switch to a CG cutscene, because this is where the created character comes in, getting called Brett's superhero partner. Obviously, it had to switch to CG, so the game can show the character as whatever you customized him as. In the first trailer, he was shown as having moves from many different heroes, and flashes of a bunch of characters, alluding to the fact that you can use their power, or something like that. And so, as they attack, the logo is revealed. Xenoverse 3. I love this logo. It still has the hourglass and Shenron within it, despite the fact that there's zero reference to the Time Patrol so far. So maybe we will see them, but won't be as much of a center of everything. The logo also breaks apart and fades into the three lines. I think this is all connected to however they'll finish Xenoverse 2, which, as the trailer for the final DLC seems to show, Fu will try to erase or reset everything. At least, that's my theory. Maybe Cronoa and Xenotrunks will have to rebuild everything and lead into this future. Because, weirdly, the events of Xenoverse 2 do take place in a specific age, 852, 148 years before this game. Anyways, the final scene shows our character waking up in what seems to be our apartment. It's a total mess with papers everywhere and a little robot friend moving things about. He has a PC in his room connected to something that looks like a healing chamber or like a 3D printer or something. I don't know. Here, we get a tiny look at a classic character, a tower with Majin Buu's face on it. In the future of Dragon Ball Online, and even Xenoverse, Buu created the whole Majin population of Earth by making his own kids. They actually helped save the world along with the heroes, so I wonder if this tower is commemorating him and his race. But then Bulma comes crashing in on her bike. Wait, zoom in, is that Tablos confirmed? Just kidding, this is specifically the bike she used when she first met Goku. Same number and everything, but it can fly now, I guess. Or maybe it was launched. I can make out a couple of the papers. Capsule Corp Science Electricity, Capsule Corp Magazine, Technology and Science, Technology Singularity, New Capsule, and Virtual Urban Design. Honestly, given the mess of books on the apartment and the focus on the university, I think we'll be playing the role of a university student who joins Bulma and the Great Saiyaman when she crashes through the window. The ring around her neck then shows up as she holds the robot. And this shot right here is super cool, because because it's a homage to Goku and Bulma's first meeting as depicted on the final chapter of Dragon Ball, except there, Bulma is holding their Dragon Radar. Also, Capsule Corp slippers. Is there nothing they won't put their logo on? And with that, we get the announcement that it'll be coming next year, 2027. Thankfully, we don't have too much to wait. Though this final shot also has some interesting stuff, like a bunch of advertisement for the Panenko plushies. The plush Gohan and Videl kept giving Piccolo in Superhero, and some kind of weird love tower. There's also floating orbs around the city. It kinda reminds me of the floating location teleporters above Kanton City in Xenoverse 2. A couple of them also look kinda demon realmy, or Namekian, with the spikes and all that. Clearly inspired by that kind of architecture. The love tower on the far right also has that. I really wonder what this thing is. It says, I love something on the side. Or maybe GTA 6 isn't the only upcoming game where you can go to a place to get some loving. What's really weird is that above that tower, there are some little orbs that look exactly like candy structures from Janemba's Hell. I have no idea what it is, but it looks a little too close to that. Hell, for all we know, this is how we get a new version of Janemba, a love hotel owner. But there's still more to talk about. Notably, we don't see many more races in the trailer besides humans and Saiyans, but we do see a Glint Popstar, a Namekian as Piccolo, and an android as Gamma 1. I bring this up because many people are worried that there won't be any other races outside of Saiyans and humans. I think it's a valid concern. After the trailer, they showed the female counterpart to the male-created character, both designed by Toriyama. This has made people worried that you won't be able to pick Namekians, Majins, or Frieza rays like before. The fact that Toriyama himself designed these two does kinda lean into that, but the official description on Steam mentions that there is extensive character customization. Hopefully this includes races. It would be very weird if they took that out. It's such an integral feature. In fact, I hope they add more races. But honestly, doesn't this whole thing kind of feel like Pokemon to you? Just the kind of vibes. We have a rival friend character, and the opposite gender character apparently exists in the world too, so maybe they will be the opposite rival. Not that this is a bad thing, it's actually very cool and different. I just hope that whatever villains are out there are very threatening and push us to the limit. We also already know that we can go Super Saiyan and that our hair changes. A big complaint from the previous games was that hair always kept the same shape, so I'm glad they fixed this. Although, the fact that we have to even question if we're getting the other races brings me to my next point. This kind of feels like a soft reboot. No Time Patrol, no Supreme Kai, no Xeno Trunks, and if that's the case, it's honestly kinda sad. I'm gonna miss them, even if I am looking forward to this new direction. Especially with Dragon Ball Heroes gone, it's a little piece of the franchise that kinda seems done if this is the case. But what I mean by this is that with Toriyama's involvement, and especially the whole presented by Toriyama, I do feel like he tried to do a little bit more of his own thing. They didn't ask him make a sequel to Xenoverse 2, since he wasn't really involved in that one at all. But they did ask him imagine what a future world of Dragon Ball looks like. The site also calls this a new Dragon Ball world by Akira Toriyama, which could just be hyperbole for the fact that this is the future, or it could really be disconnected from it all. I do think, to some degree, time travel will be involved. We see the Hourglass and Shenron on the logo, but I still think this is somewhat of a soft reboot. Kinda like how Sonic 06 was a reboot and reimagining of the franchise, but still tried to use the same adventure gameplay style. Very poorly. I say soft reboot instead of a normal reboot, because I think that whatever the final DLC will be is going to be used to bridge the gap. But that we are taking this in a very different direction. In a sense, the proper sequel to Xenoverse 2 was all the DLC we got after. Remember that one DLC that ended with our character Goku and Noob flying off and it said Xenoverse 2 ended? Well, that was around the time the new game was beginning to be developed. And from then, the story of the Future Saga and all those other DLCs served as something of a conclusion to the original Xenoverse Time Patrol story. It's like a trilogy. I still think this is all super cool, because we're gonna get to see the real future of Dragon Ball Super, we'll get to see, or at least hear about Gohan, Goten, and Trunks, and everybody else having grown up past what we've seen and made it on their own. Like how Gohan published a book on ki control, or Goten and Trunks starting their own sword fighting schools in Dragon Ball Online. It's really special because obviously Online happened way before Super, but now they can include all of that stuff. Like Gamma 1 being here is kind of a big deal. At the same time, it also feels a little more street level, for lack of a better term. All the fight we've seen has been pretty low scale, and it obviously takes place in a city. But this is Dragon Ball, so we're definitely gonna have ginormous battles anyways. I kinda hope that we get to save the city here and there, like random encounters or events where we have to save civilians. I also wonder what other heroes could still be around. Maybe the androids? They do age, but very slowly. Hit is already like 1,000 years old in the present, so maybe he could show up for some reason. Or like the angels or gods of destruction, Shin and Kibito. I could totally see them showing up. Maybe even characters from Daima. The original reveal trailer showed Goku, or who we can assume is Goku with the new design, so he'll obviously be involved in some way. And that also gives credence to the idea of time travel returning. That's why I don't really believe people who say, oh, we're probably not going back in time ever. Like, maybe it's not gonna be the main focus. In Dragon Ball Online, that wasn't the main thing. It was just something that also happened along the story. So I do think we'll at least see Xeno Trunks to some degree, but that side of things isn't going to be as important as everything that's going on in the present. But that's also what makes this game so interesting to me, because for the first time in a long time, Dragon Ball isn't looking backwards. It's not retelling old arcs, fixing timelines, or bringing back the same villain again and again. I'm sure that stuff will happen to some degree, but we're also asking new questions. What does Dragon Ball look like after Goku? That's kinda crazy to think about, because in a world like this, Goku isn't around to save the day. Obviously, he'll be involved some way somehow, in a big way, but this is a future without most of our heroes. Now it's just people, a new generation of martial artists, living in a world shaped by the legends that came before them. And now we're one of them. And yeah, I'm gonna miss the old Xenoverse elements like the Time Patrol, Xeno Trunks, and Chronoa being a much larger part. But at the same time, I'm excited to see something very different and new. So whether this ends up being a full-on reboot, or them just taking a backstep, or a new chapter, Xenoverse 3 has a lot to live up to. And I think it might just deliver on that. I really hope we get some gameplay soon. I can't wait to learn more. Thank you for watching, guys. And if you want to brush up on the history of Xenoverse, then be sure to check out my video on the entire story of Xenoverse 1.